We have to hold one another up. And we do that through love and through joy and through laughter.
He's new to the job, but not to the city. See what a typical day is like for Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell. As millions of Ukrainians become refugees, we revisit a similar experience for a family that fled Syria. We highlight the work of a remarkable woman determined to help others as we observe Women's History Month. These stories and more next on CityStream. Hello, I'm Dennis Bounds, and welcome to CityStream from Seattle City Hall. New year, new leadership.
And that I will faithfully conduct myself.
And that I will faithfully conduct myself.
As mayor for the city of Seattle.
As mayor for the city of Seattle.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Bruce Harrell was sworn in as Seattle's 57th mayor at the start of 2022. And after just 11 weeks on the job, he's tackling a growing list of challenges facing the city. No question his job is a pressure cooker, but it's balanced by lighter moments when he leaves the office and interacts with the community. That was clear when we tagged along. Producer Randy Yang now with a day in the life of Mayor Bruce Harrell.
The mayor's here at Kraken Iceplex to share a proclamation that today is officially Kraken Day.
This is Lake City, Beacon Hill, MLK, and Rainier Valley.
So a proclamation gives us the opportunity to preserve something through our city clerk system. That's an archived document. And we can look back and talk about the measurements within the proclamation.
Our mayor, Mayor Harrell.
We all have to look at the Kraken organization, and people are evaluating them on their win or loss record, which to me they've won. They put in money into our community, small businesses, BIPOC community, workers and contractors. They said they would do these things, and now they did it. Now, therefore, the mayor and the full Seattle City Council honor the fans of Seattle's new NHL franchise, the Seattle Kraken, and proclaim Wednesday, March 2nd, 2022 to be Seattle Kraken Day. Let's call it Seattle Kraken Day. That's why we do these proclamations. They're not symbolic, they're actually substantive in nature with some symbolism. So I enjoy doing that, and I think it's the right thing to do.
$8 million geared towards small businesses. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. So there's two things.
Part of the mayor's job is to take questions from press, and you never know when they might show up and what questions they'll have.
Trust the ice. Trust the ice. I don't know what that means.
Thanks for coming by. We're going to get you on the ice next time.
Well, I feel a little confidence now. I saw my competition with the council members there. I think I can take them.
Exactly. We get a little game going. It could be really fun. Thank you.
From here, the mayor's going to stop by the hospital to see a friend's wife to just show his support and make sure she's doing okay.
Where are you? So we're down here at in the main entrance. I got a call very late last night at 11:15 to be here. Being born and raised here, I get these calls all the time, and I try to do what I can to let people know in a time of need that I'm there for them. And it's part of the job that no one talks about, but it's critical for us to help each other get through tough times.
Just having the mayor here helps draw on the attention of, news channels and things like that.
The new Capital Access Program is an investment in $8 million plus $3 million in recovery dollars, $5 million in Equitable Communities Task Force dollars that business could start applying for now.
To know that there's possible resources out there for me is amazing.
I had a quote here that was prepared for me, and I want to do it justice. It says, rather than help small businesses tread water, we need them to be thriving. More than a life raft, we need to help get them a speedboat to success. And I wasn't clever enough to write that. I wasn't even clever enough to read it perfectly. But I'll tell you that that's what this is about.
Hi. Yes, I do think the mayor is approachable. I feel like he's very down to earth, and he understands, as a small business owner, what it's like.
Thank you very much. Every opportunity I can let people know what I'm going to do as leader, my energy, right? That I quite frankly learned as a young athlete, this tenacity to get things done.
As much as possible, the mayor tries to get out in community but you can't escape meetings. There are times where he's booked back to back to back in Teams meetings and Zoom meetings.
If you have questions on that, just see me off channel, because I know you could talk about what's that's going to look like.
This will be his third meeting. So right now he's meeting with his executive team to hear what initiatives we're working on, what decisions he needs to make. I would say the mayor has really set the tone for this office, and an office that laughs together. I think that's really an important part. There's a sense of humor that underlies everything that the mayor does, and that I think we all try to do too, is to do this work with some joy.
We have to hold one another up, and we do that through love and through joy and through laughter. And so when I see people having a positive workplace, particularly here on the 7th floor, it does my heart wonder. We should love what we do because we're trying to help people.
There's no such thing as a typical day in the mayor's office. After this, the mayor's headed to the Kraken game to celebrate Kraken Day and put an exclamation point on it.
Time to release the Kraken!
So the Kraken lesson is, say what you're going to do what you said you're going to do, measure it, and make a better Seattle.
So you're going to be right over there? You're going to be on stage left?
People want it like this, like this, like this. This Kraken organization wasn't built like this, right? It took a vision, it took skills, it took investments, it took hard work, and that's what we're willing to do. So that's what this day represents.
We're honored to have Seattle Mayor Harrell here tonight to share the proclamation with all of our amazing fans.
We've been in office only for 8 weeks, but quite frankly, this is a 7-day-a-week job for me, and I don't run away from it. That's what's needed.
When Mayor Harrell took office at the beginning of this year, it was actually his second time being sworn in as mayor. You might recall he served as interim mayor of Seattle back in 2017. He held that post for 5 days. The refugee crisis in Ukraine evokes memories of a similar predicament in Syria just 5 years ago. One family story as CityStream continues. Nearly 3 million Ukrainians have now fled their country as Russia continues its unrelenting attack. The refugees have streamed into neighboring Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, Romania, Moldova, and other countries. For many, the journey has been compounded by emotional separations as Ukrainian men, age 18 to 60, stay behind to fight for their country. A similar refugee crisis played out just 5 years ago. Millions of Syrians escaped the city of Aleppo and surrounding regions that crumbled under intense fighting. Some of those refugees arrived in Seattle to begin a new life. Josephine Cheng spoke to a Syrian family who shared a perspective back then that few Americans have experienced.
مثال بينه. مثال. Translator.
Iyad and Safa never imagined they'd be here, halfway across the globe using a mobile translator.
نعم. صنع المنسوجات.
Yes, making textiles and sold.
Okay, both. Letting their kids watch American TV and eat American snacks.
كمان مرة.
But what do you do when your old life literally vanishes? This is all that remains of their once vibrant block in Aleppo, a city of 5 million that was one of the most beautiful and historic in Syria. This is all there is to the house they once called home. And see the textile shop that Iyad and his father had built from scratch to support their families? It too is now just dust. Hundreds of thousands have died in the Syrian civil war and millions have fled. Before Iyad and Safa left for Turkey in 2012, life was as bad as any war movie.
طبعا هون كان في خوف
We lived in complete fear and complete shock. There was no electric power, no water, and my daughter Huda was really young at that time and she needed milk, but all the food necessities were missing. Also, like all the doctors, the ones that are very competent in Aleppo, like fled, and my wife was pregnant with my second daughter and she needed a C-section.
So Safa and Iyad felt they had no choice but to take bare essentials in 2 suitcases and leave the country they loved.
ولكن هي عمتي.
Iyad would later learn he lost an aunt, cousins, his little brother, another price of war.
6 months dead. Yeah.
It was pretty shocking what happened in Syria. I never imagined that the government would like shoot down the innocent civilians who went to the street to protest. It was unimaginable.
This is our interpreter, Mital Dabaj, who also fled Syria in 2012. As a software engineer, she had the good fortune to land a job at Microsoft, and the company helped her get an H-1B visa for specially skilled workers. As she awaited her green card, she began hearing stories of friends back home, and they touch her to the core.
For me personally, because when I left Syria, I was here in a safe place, and my friends were sorry, I can't.
She feels so lucky because so many others like Iyad, settling temporarily in Turkey, was scrounging for any job he could. Gas station attendant, restaurant worker, vegetable seller, anything to support his family, while they applied for the chance to come to the U.S., to Seattle, as political refugees. That vetting process is the toughest that any foreign national undergoes. About 2 years of background checks, fingerprinting, biometrics, and interrogation by multiple federal agencies. Finally, in 2017, they made it to Seattle.
The fact is, refugees already go through a very strenuous, extreme process.
Joaquin Wee works for Seattle's Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. He notes that refugees are not immigrants coming for economic benefits. Refugees are escaping political persecution or wars. He says the evidence does not support fears that refugees are terrorists.
Stats show that in terms of terrorist activities, to date, no one that's done a harmful terrorist activity has actually gone through a refugee program. That's just, there has not been a link there.
We are Muslims, and Islam means salam, which means peace. And it's a religion of peace. And what's happening in Syria, we left because we were fearful of the terrorism, but we're not terrorists.
Let's look at the bigger picture. Since 2010, Washington State has taken in about 17,000 refugees. We now rank 8th in the nation. The biggest waves of refugees have come from East Africa, Ethiopia, Somalia, Eritrea, also Russia and Ukraine, and more recently, the Middle East, Iraq, Iran, and Syria. Like Iyad and Safa, more refugees have settled in the Seattle area than elsewhere in the state. Yet there are only about 30 Syrian families here. Mital has helped all of them resettle.
They're all normal people, very loving and very caring and very generous, and they have so much to offer to Seattle and to the rest of the United States. My husband wants to find a job where he can be able to provide for our family, and we don't want to depend on help from others or aid from others. We want to just be independent and be part of society here. The main thing is for my family and for my children to grow up in a safe place.
Their dreams, their hopes are in the end so utterly normal. Refugees want what anyone moving to Seattle has wanted, to go from newcomer to local, to earn the right to be called Seattleites.
Most recently, the city's Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs has worked with its state counterpart to offer assistance to refugees from Afghanistan. And both offices will do the same for those arriving from Ukraine. she now calls Seattle home. But she knows the challenges new refugees face, and she's determined to help. That's next on CityStream. Our friends at the Municipal Archives have been busy highlighting their favorite archival objects. In this installment, reference archivist Jeannie Fisher explores a 1931 transcript that reveals one group's determined effort to make money from an unlikely source.
One of my favorite objects in the archives is this transcript from a committee hearing that took place on August 11, 1931. The hearing was in response to a petition that had been submitted to the city by a group of disabled veterans asking for official permission to salvage, quote, saleable waste from city garbage dumps. This was during the Great Depression, and salvaging waste materials like paper, metal, and rags was a way to earn money for those who desperately needed it. More and more people wanted access to the city's dumps to salvage waste, and territorial arguments began to break out in terms of who had permission to do it. The city's efficiency committee got involved and called a hearing to consider the issue. This is a transcript from that hearing, and one of the things I love about it is that it's almost like being in the room. You have pages and pages of verbatim testimony from both city officials and salvage workers discussing who had permission and why, what the conditions were on the dump sites, how salvaging worked, and what the city's responsibility was in the whole affair. You can almost hear the discussion, and it gives glimpses into the lives of people who were desperate for any income and who saw the opportunity to salvage as a chance to support themselves and their families. Other hearing transcripts in the archives from this time period cover equally fascinating topics, such as a police corruption case in 1924 and a vice investigation in 1935. Like this transcript, they're full of details about the city and stories of those who lived and worked here. You can find them all at the archives. Just email archives@seattle.gov for more information.
March is Women's History Month, a time to celebrate the contributions of women and honor those who make a difference. Ming Tung Edelman certainly fits that description. As a refugee, she arrived here with no job skills. She could not speak the language, and she felt isolated. But she did not give up. She now helps others facing the same predicament she endured by teaching them valuable skills to earn a living. Roberta Romero explains.
Life is a tapestry. Its threads connect us and protect us when change occurs.
I have been a clinical pharmacist for 22 years, but it's always something in my heart I feel is missing.
This fabric of life provides a framework that's transformative.
The Refugee Arts Initiative is to empower refugee and immigrant women to be self-sufficient, one sewing machine at a time. Imagine you grew up in refugee camp for 20 years, you never have formal education. There's not a whole lot of things living in a tech town like Seattle can offer you.
For Ming Tung Edelman, the goal of her homegrown organization is to help refugee and immigrant women get on their feet once they've gained a foothold in the Northwest.
Because the language difficulty, she worked a little bit manufacturing, but Sue, she spent most of her time raising 4 kids as a single mother.
那个时候他们一个一个的都很小，不知道怎么办，所以没办法。
And that's when we come in. We able to provide equipment, the training, and a market for the things you make. Rahel never made a single dime in America. Little education, language barrier, and high-cost childcare was not possible for her. So she finally made her first paycheck in our program.
Yeah, this job I like it. In future, that's big dream.
So there's that pride knowing that my work is being valued, not only being exchanged with income, but it's being valued. I think that's very important to the people that we work with.
The Refugee Artisan Initiative currently works with women from Ethiopia, Bhutan, and China. They are spread around Seattle, Everett, and Tukwila. How does she communicate? With videos that show the women how to perform intricate sewing techniques.
Next side.
Show them to our artisans and say, this is a project coming to you and this is what you expect of. And then we'll do the home visit. We'll do it together. Imagine I have to do it 3 or 4 times from Everett, Chinatown, down to Tukwila. You know, I just spend my whole day training. And a lot of times you do training, they forget. So having a video tutorial has been very, very helpful.
Born in Taiwan, Mingming and her family moved to Saudi Arabia when she was 14. She came to the U.S. a few years later. That experience left Mingming with a deeper understanding of the challenges facing newcomers to our region.
Got to make new friends, learn new language. So I understand the struggle. You know, being in different environment, you have to adapt. So I really want to connect them. I feel seeing them succeed is almost a reflection of myself when I first come to America.
Mingming always had a creative side. After taking some fashion classes, she noticed an opportunity.
I noticed that there was a tremendous amount of waste in the fashion industry. So it was like a hot moment. Why not marry the two and create jobs?
A merging of the two led to large collaborations with some big names, like Luli Yang and Eileen Fisher.
There was just a natural crossover between our interest in providing materials. It's a very simple thing for us to do, but we've long been invested in community work and particularly with women's empowerment, that it was a natural and easy yes.
They not only support us by donating their garment to us to repurpose, and they also have given us grant to buy equipment. This one will be a nice pot holder. It would be perfect. It already has the thickness.
Word of her handiwork is spreading. The Shahuli Museum of Glass, the Gates Foundation, the Wing Luke Museum, as well as the Eileen Fisher Renew Store have either carried artisan work or have commissioned exclusive small batch artisan creations.
Locally handmade small batch goods done by artisans is something that a lot of people are having trouble finding. Here is your Seahawks scarf. Isn't that fun?
She even made a small batch of jewelry out of an item from Oprah Winfrey.
She had a garage sale selling her garment, and we purposed 2 necklaces, and who would not like to get an Oprah's hug?
Sometimes adversity sidetracks opportunity. Remember Sue, the Chinese woman we first met? Recently, she was diagnosed with cancer. Unable to communicate with the doctor or even explain how scared she feels, she turned to the only person she could count on for support.
Yeah, it's hard.
也没有办法。想起来，很担心自己的身体，很多东西就会担心了。但是能认识到你对我的帮忙很多，又是很开心的。能够认识到你们这么好的人。
And having just extra person say, look, you know, we're here to support you and you can get through this. So if I can give a little of my time, be more than happy to.
While Mingming guides these women along a path to greater opportunity, her most important gift may be the comfort she provides as they seek a better life.
Not only we give them work, but I think more importantly, we give them the dignity and self-esteem that they deserve as a human being. So if nothing, at least this is something that they feel good about being able to provide for their family, that they have a skill that they can contribute in the fabric of American society.
We have an update on Sue, one of the artisans featured in this story who is battling cancer. We are happy to report her cancer is in remission and she is doing well. We'll be right back. And that wraps up this episode of CityStream from City Hall. If you'd like to watch more outstanding Seattle Channel programs, visit our website, seattle.gov, and click on Feature Shows. I'm Dennis Bounds. Thanks for watching.